So recording is now on. Watch what you say and no weird gestures. Okay. What I've seen in the past, in the live presentations, especially, is there's kind of different kinds of people show up. One time, or one kind of person is the individual that is really interested in the topic and plans on utilizing it. There's usually very few people like that. There's another group of people that are interested in what it is, and they haven't really decided if they need that particular feature, that particular topic, but they're willing to listen to it. I'm going to open up another screen here. Open up my desktop. Can't find what I'm looking for.
319 presentation.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. The third type of people, I think, just come for the food. So let me see what I can do here. So for those folks, since you're virtual, I'll offer you some virtual donuts.
Hey, there you go.
Okay.
I can't find any good donut shops here in Texas.
Well, when you open one, make a fortune.
That's making me hungry there.
Oh, somebody's got a phone going.
Me.
Oh, okay.
That's me.
I'm going to stop share for a second, then I'll come back.
Hello. Oh, it's a Zoom thing. Nope, you're fine.
Okay. I'm going to start going now. What I'm going to talk about is a series of utility programs.
Oh, I have it.
You can basically find probably hundreds of different programs to do a variety of things. What I'm planning on doing today is a little bit different. I mentioned the three categories of people that typically comes.
Excuse me, Dennis.
Terry, can you mute yourself?
Maybe you could mute everyone, Dennis, yourself, so that because every time someone's voice or noise comes across the screen,
that'd be fine.
Then
I'm going to mute everybody. Well, when I mute everybody, the difficulty is nobody can ask a question. So one of the things you can do is you can raise your hand here in participants.
I'm not muted.
Yes, you are. Oh, no, you're not yet. You will be. Okay. You see over here reactions on the lower side of my screen?
Oh, yes.
Okay. If you click the hand and you're muted, that will alert me that you want to make a comment or have a question. So right now I'm not going to mute everybody, but if the noise starts, then I'll mute everybody, and you can use the reactions to
Dennis,
let people know.
How do we pin you so that when someone else's noise won't take away your screen?
Go over here to the view and put in the gallery. Well, actually, you can't do much. The fundamental problem is it's set up on speaker view so that you can see what my screen looks like. I think once I start sharing everything, you'll see something different. All right. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to disappear. These are some of the files I'm going to talk about. Did everybody get the handout?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go through this stuff. And as I started to say, this presentation will be a little bit different than prior presentations in this respect. I am not going to go into a lot of detail. I'm going to introduce the topic. I'll show you an example. And if you're interested, there's a link in the handout that you can go to download the product and learn more about it. If there is enough interest by people on a particular utility program, then maybe we'll schedule something down the line. Now, today I'm going to cover application programs or utility programs that you can download and add to your Windows system. In 2 weeks, I'll talk about those utilities that are built into Windows. And there's a lot of duplication between the two topics. Right? Typically what happens is Windows comes out with a particular utility program to do something. And other people look at it and say, gee, I could write a better program than that. And I can either charge for it or I can make it free, but it'll do a better job than Windows did. And that's the kind of things we're going to look at. So these folks decided that they could do something a little bit better. So I'm going to start with one that's called VLC Media Player. And it's this program right here. What I have is a file folder with a series of shortcuts. So I'll click the shortcut. When Windows 10 first came out, they did not have a good video player. All right. Here's the video player, VLC. I've been using this particular one for a number of years. There's a variety of things you can do with it, but basically what I do is I go up here to the media, and you can see all of the various ways you can reach something and open it. So I can open a particular file or simultaneously files. I go to a folder. What I have in my system right now is a disk. And when I clicked it, the disk drive is E, and it happens to be a Tai Chi DVD. Right? And I could select a regular DVD if there was a Blu-ray or an audio or a different kind of file sitting there. And if I just click play, the DVD opens. I could make it as large as I want. Right? It's a very simple program. I've never run into problems with it, and it seems to play everything I need played. Right? Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
You have the
Just
link to VLC.
Just to note that Bob Rankin gave it a very high rating, at least just a little while ago.
Yeah, that's the link. Okay, so that's the first program we're looking at. I'll go back and I'll say I use VLC several times a week. Right? The next one is called O&O Shut Up 10, and it's this one here. Let me get back to it. This is a program I use on brand new computers once or twice, and I probably don't come back again. If you notice here that this is an application program that Windows is giving me a warning about. It says check Windows security and install. I'm just going to reinstall it. When it wants to install, it's going to say, well, I allow this app to make changes to your device. This is a warning screen I caution everybody about, to be very careful. If you download something and you want to install it and it makes changes to your device, you're going to get this warning. Be very cautious before you do it. But verified publisher means that the software is actually coming from this person or this company. So I'm going to download it and install it. And it's installed, and here's what happens. Windows has a lot of settings that where it can gain information about who you are and what you're doing. This particular program will allow you to turn off many of those things, right? And if you look here on the left, you'll see there's green and red, okay? Green means that this thing has been disabled, right? So sharing of handwriting data has been disabled. Down here, this one has not been disabled yet. In experiments with a machine by Microsoft, meaning Microsoft could come over and do an experiment. I think they would have to get your approval, but that's something they could do. These settings are basically the default settings, right? You can see all of the areas in here that Windows is doing different things depending. Windows Explorer will do this. The Windows Update Service will do this. There's some miscellaneous stuff down here. Up here in Actions, right, you can apply recommended settings. Some settings will come up with a little triangle, right? And it says that they are recommended, but it may cause some problems. And if you get some warnings, you'll see some stuff that anyway, you can get some kinds of symbols that suggest you don't do anything with, meaning that it may disable something. So typically I come in here and I say apply only recommended settings. If I'm really concerned, I'll do recommended and somewhat recommended. Right? So if this is a program you can come in on, and you can look over here whether that particular thing is limited, recommended, or this symbol says don't change it. Right? So disable automatic Windows updates. It says no, do not disable this. Right? So this is a program I suggest every new computer, and if you've been using a computer for a while, you might want to try it. Any questions?
Just
Okay.
to note that for a while, the viewer list of people on the call was covering most of your recommended or links. I had to move it over a little bit into the screen
Okay.
to be able to see what you were talking about.
Oh, okay. On my screen, it doesn't show that way. Let me do something here. Okay. Now, what was covering up? Because I'm not looking at the. Okay. I'm only running one computer, so I can't see exactly what you're looking at. Can everyone see my picture here?
Yes.
Nothing blocking it? Okay. Let me go to the next one. And let me do something different. I'm going to get off here. And I want to show you something. Let me enlarge this. Right? I want to show you a file that's kind of hidden. I'm going to go to data. or excuse me. This is this PC. Okay, all of the stuff on the PC. I'm going to scroll down here to data. And as I do this, notice that there's a trail that'll start building up here. And down here is another folder called Old Desktop. What I did when I got this computer, I copied my, could someone mute themselves? Whoever's phone's ringing. Please mute yourself. Right. I copied the desktop from my old computer and I moved it to my new computer. Here's the desktop. And down here, I have a folder called Hold All. I have another folder called AARP files. And if you see over here, there's another folder called Expense Guides. Everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This folder came in 1916 or 2016. So if you're looking at it, the multiple layers, this is the top layer. This is the next layer below it. Here's another layer. Here's another layer. Here's another layer. Here's another layer. Okay. For some reason, I want to find expense guides. Okay. But I don't know where it is. I'm just showing you where it is, but I come back and I say, no, this is what I'm looking for. So if I go over to this PC and over here in the search box, I type in doesn't want to let me type. Well, that's strange.
Can't you just click on the expense guide there?
The what? Say again? Here it is. Yeah, there's a delay in typing for some reason. So I'm typing in expense guide. I want Windows search to find this for me. Okay. Now hit enter. Now Windows search has now started and it says it's working on it. So Windows search is a program I can talk about in 2 weeks if you're interested, because you can set up to do a lot of things. But what I found is it's a terrible program for finding anything. Okay. I'm not going to let this thing run too long. I tried it a couple of days ago, and after 10 minutes, it could not find this folder. So I gave up.
You distinguish between searching and finding.
By searching, it couldn't find it. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the desktop again. And I'm going to go back to my presentation. I'm going to show you a program called Everything Search. This is the best search program I've ever found. And I use it continuously because I lose things all of the time. So I'm going to start Everything Search. And I'm going to start typing in expense guide. Here's expense guides. It found it. Here's the program, 2015 is the folder. It took that long to go through the entire disk and find exactly what I was looking for.
Amazing.
Compared to 10 minutes of Windows search, which still hadn't found it.
Mhm.
So if you,
That's a free search engine?
yes. It's one of the best programs I've ever downloaded. So, you know, if you ever have to search for things, this is the program I would recommend.
Yeah, thanks for showing me that. I've tried a number of times with Windows search and I got frustrated.
I think everybody does. Okay. So I'm going to stop this now. I have another program here called Disk LED. Now, on my old computers, there was a little light that would flash whenever I was using the disk. This particular computer, I don't have that. So somewhere along the line, and I think it was from Renee, he showed me this one, which I'm going to click.
Yes, let me interject while you're doing that. I've used this thing for years. And sometimes when you're out there and something's happening with an update or whatever, and you don't know if it's working or not, and the screen is not doing anything, this thing will light up and let you know that something's working.
You know, it's this little symbol. Can everybody see at the bottom of my screen a black rectangle?
No, there's nothing.
Can you see it?
Nope.
Which side?
Okay, it's almost in the center of the screen at the very bottom,
Yes.
and I've highlighted it. Okay, this thing will flash every time it accesses the disk. And you can see it flicker right now, but it's very fast. If I did, let's see. Well, I'm going to do a refresh. We'll see if it flashes. No, it didn't flash. Anyway, as we go through here, you may notice this little thing flashing. One of the things you have to keep in mind is this is a program that does not use the Windows registry, right? Which means that if you restart your system, you have to restart this program, okay? There's a lot of other programs that will automatically restart. This is not one of those. So it's not in the startup folder, okay? So it's a little handy program that I particularly find useful.
So Dennis,
Yeah.
how did you get it down in your taskbar?
By starting it, it automatically went on the taskbar. Let's do that again. I exit, it disappears. I come back to disk LED, now start it again, and it reappears.
Okay. So what I've done on my Windows 7, it used to, I put it actually in the start menu and it would come up every time the startup come up.
Oh, okay.
But I noticed on Windows 10, I don't know, I couldn't figure out how to do that. So what I did was I took that little executable program and I put it right on my, I copied it right to my desktop. And
Yep.
so after I start up, I just click on it on my desktop and then we're good to go for the rest of, until I shut the machine off.
Yeah, I'll show you one other thing. You see this word says configure? If you click configure, well, okay. Here's the configuration menu that comes up. I'm looking at the physical disk, but you have some options of looking at other things, right? So you can look at the processor, you can look at a power meter, you can look at your print queue, all kinds of choices. And you can set it up for time. You can set up down here the icon you want to see. You can set up the utilization and how frequently it updates. So while I'm just showing you disk flashing, there's a whole bunch of things here you can come in and modify to look at. So while it looks like a very simple program, it actually has a lot of configuration choices. All right. Now, the question always comes up in my mind is what's actually sitting on my computer? And when I say what's sitting on my computer, I'm actually thinking about hardware and software. So I'm going to show you a couple of programs that will give you some information. This one, SPECCY, is the first one. We'll take a look at it. Again, this is an outside app that wants to make changes. And I'm going to say, yeah. Now it is starting analyzing what's on the computer. And as it finds things over here, it will start giving me information. So it tells me that I'm running Windows Pro, the 64-bit version. I'm running an Intel Core i7. This is the speed. And over here, it's giving me the temperature. Right? There's a lot of components in your computer that can overheat. And sometimes you want to look at what the temperature is. The green bar says that it's fine. If I came down to graphics, I have a graphics card that temperature is 72 degrees. And over here, I have two storage devices. I have a SSD as my main device, and then I have a disk that is another device I use for backup. Right? I can come over here to get more detail. Here's things about the operating system. I can look at the CPU and gain information about it. Right? And notice that this is considered a 4-core machine, and it gives me temperature and speeds. And this is being updated as we're watching. So you can see different things flash. There was temperature change here a second ago. Right? So you can go through here, for example, RAM. It tells me that I have 2 memory slots and I've used both. I have no slots left. One of the questions that comes up periodically by somebody asking me is, gee, can I expand my memory? Well, here it tells you there's no slots left to expand the memory. Now, different boards will take different kinds of memory sticks that will go in. And sometimes you can get a denser stick to go in, but I would have to pull out my 2 memory slots and replace them. Right? This gives me my total memory, 16 gigabytes. Right? So I'm not going to go through all of these things, but it gives you an overview of what's in your system. Right? And over here, right, I can save this as a text file, or I can print out information. Right? So this is an overview with some details of what's in my system. Now, based on how people look at things, different programmers can do the exact same thing, but present it quite differently. So I'm going to close this program, and I'm going to come over here to one called BELARC Advisor. And BELARC does basically the same thing, but a different format. And again, I want to allow it to make changes. This one takes a minute or two to come up. Right? So BELARC downloaded the latest version for me, and it's updating their profile. Do not ask me what the profile of the computer means. So we'll sit here for a minute or two if anybody has a question while this program's running.
Dennis, I have a question.
Okay.
When you were showing the temperatures of the internal stuff just in the last thing you were looking at, that was all centigrade. It had 72 degrees centigrade. How do you change it to Fahrenheit?
I've never tried to change it. All I do is I look and I say, is it green or red?
Oh.
I have a fan control on my computer where I can turn on another fan.
Well, I think 72 degrees centigrade makes it higher in Fahrenheit, like 20 to 30 degrees higher.
Yep.
Somewhere in there.
I mean, I'm running a laptop. It gets pretty hot.
Yeah, okay.
If I'm playing a game, it gets really hot. I have to turn on the auxiliary fan.
Oh,
There is a program on your computer that will convert centigrade to Fahrenheit and reverse. All you have to do is search for it, conversion, and it'll come up.
Excellent.
And you can keep it in your toolbar along with a calculator or those sorts of things.
Yep.
That you use often.
okay.
Right.
That's a good tip.
So on that, Dennis, on that VLC media player,
Yeah.
you mentioned like that Tai Chi disc, for instance. Is that, you called it a disc, but it is.
It's
is
a
it something
DVD. It's a DVD I put in the player.
Okay, so every time you want to go, have your Tai Chi session, do you have to put the disc in?
I just leave it there. And what I've done over here in the lower left-hand corner of my toolbar, can you see the cursor?
Yes.
Okay, there's the DVD. I usually just leave that on. And when I want to play it, I click it. One of the nice things is this thing remembers where it is in the DVD. So if I'm halfway through a particular file, like the Tai Chi has 20 or 30 different files on it for different lessons, it just keeps track of where I am.
But not if you take it out.
No, if I take it out, it loses everything. If I turn it off and I come back, I think it actually will remember where it was.
Huh.
Okay. This is the BASCC advisor. It has similar things to what we saw, but it gives more information. For example, it says my virus protection is up to date, but I'm missing 4 security updates. Now I would have to go back and try and figure out why. Now it's giving me here a computer profile. Here's my operating system with different information about it. Here's my computer. It's a MicroStar computer. It shows me stuff about my processor, and it actually giving me more information than I got before. Talks about the circuit board. I would say offhand, most people don't need all of this information. But if you're running a computer and you really can't remember what's on it, this is a way to get it. And sometimes if you're dealing with someone who's trying to help you resolve an issue, they want some of this information. So you have a tool here where you can go through and get information. For example, this is showing me Bluetooth, and it tells me I actually have a Bluetooth device. It shows me other devices. For example, right now I'm running a headphone called the Phonak Compilot 2 in stereo. Right? And it shows me all of the other systems that are here. So this thing is extremely comprehensive. Right? One of the things it shows me is licensed software. So I have a license for BASCC Advisor. This is the license. It happens to be free. Right? And I have Karpathy Internet Security gives me license. Right? I'm running different kinds of things here. It gives me information about it. Right? And here it shows me all the programs. Right? So I have all these Adobe. I have some Amazon programs. I have a bunch of Apple programs. I have a bunch of Brother programs to run my printers. Right? All kinds of stuff. By and large, I got way too many programs on here. Okay. So anyway, if you're interested in physically what's on your system, hardware and software, I just showed you 2 programs that you can use to go look at them. And someone who's had a question?
Yes, Dennis, I'd like to make a comment.
Go
I
ahead.
noticed there down through there on Bellark Advisor that you've got installed a OMI backup software.
What, one of the programs?
Yeah, IOMI. Yeah, that right there. AOMI, AOMEI, backupper version. I just want to kind of make a comment. Do you use that for your backup, to back up your files?
No.
No. Well, the little comment I want to make is that on my old machine here, I've tried Windows backup to back up all my files, and like 4 hours later, then it just quit. It just failed. And I was so frustrated with the whole darn thing. And I put IOMI in it, and in a matter of, I guess it was 20 minutes, it backed up my whole system.
Wow.
That was a full backup.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to go into a lot of details, but what I'm using is a program called iDrive.
Yeah, on the web.
Yeah, iDrive is a paid for program, and it costs me $70 a year. It backs up every file that is changed on my computer and my wife's computer every night. So I have a current backup on the web, and it allows me to make a disk image or a directory backup anytime I want. There's a couple of programs I use that I actually pay for. The backup is one of them. Right. Any questions on Bellark, or I'm going to delete and get rid of it? Okay. All right. So we took a look at a couple of programs that will show you what's on your system. And the question comes up is, so what? Well, we have a program called CC Cleaner, or C Cleaner. The C is for crap. And this is the free version up here. You can upgrade to a paid version, and I'm considering doing that right now, but I haven't decided yet. When you come in, you can do a health check, and it will go through your system and find different things. Or you can go over here to a custom clean, and a custom clean will come in and clean everything that has this little check mark, okay? So as I come down here, this is Windows programs. Right? If I click applications, it will show me other programs. Right? For example, here's Firefox, Chrome, the Windows Store, different applications. Right? So before you do anything with this, you want to come over here and click the Analyze button. So right now it's doing an analysis on different things that's on the computer.
What's it analyzing for?
Yeah, let me stop this for a second. I skipped something I want to show you. Okay. What I showed you was Bellark, okay, which showed you everything on your computer. What I want to do is come down here and show you some details. I'm going to select something called WinDirStat. Right? And when this comes up, it says, what do you want the statistics on? I wanted to look at my C drive here. And this is one of the programs I use periodically. It will analyze the disk. And you can see it working here. These little guys here are searching the disk, and it's doing several things simultaneously. And as it searches, for example, it's looking at the C drive, and it's giving me the size of things that are changing as it's going through. And it's showing me the list of items, files, subdirectories, and the last time anything changed, which was today. Right? This takes a couple of minutes. I think it takes just over 2 minutes to go through the disk. One of the reasons I like this is I forget on how much garbage and stuff I have on my disk. And once in a while, I look at the disk and I say, gee, why am I using so much of my disk drive? And this will tell me what's actually sitting out there and what I'm using. The reason I want to show you this is I would use this first to get an idea. And if it looks like I got a lot of garbage on here, I would then go to CCleaner and clean it up.
Okay, so you don't use this program to clean anything up. You just
No.
use that as a view to see what's
Yeah.
going on.
I believe I can go in individually and delete files, but I can't do massive cleanup. If you look at the bottom, you'll see this green scroll bar showing you on how much the program has done and what's left. So we can see we're kind of getting toward the end, and we're down to just a couple of these little guys. This is percent of the disk, and you can see some sizes here. So the top one is the C drive, which is coming up with the size of it, the number of items. This is a 500 gigabyte SSD. So we can see here right now I'm using over half of it, and it's still going up. Now, while this is going on, I can take a look at anything here if I want. For example, users is 87 gigabytes. And on the 500 gigabyte drive, this is the largest number of users. So I'll click users, and it kind of interferes a little bit. So let me let this thing run for a minute. You can see these things filling in as it's coming down. This is running slower than the last time I tried it. I think the problem is I'm running Zoom, which is taking up a lot of the resource. Without Zoom, it will do the complete disk in about 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Well, if anything, it's fun watching the Pac-Man.
Yeah, okay. Well, Pac-Man's running kind of slow, getting too fat. Anyway, you can see how this is breaking it down. It's the user area, and then it's the program file, program data, and program files. The difference between, oh, here it goes. I'll show you why I like it. Boom, okay. This gives me a visual representation on what's on the disk. Because sometimes I look at numbers and they don't make sense, but I look at a pretty picture and it makes more sense, okay? So if I clicked over here, users, you see the white framework that comes up?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the amount of it. This whole thing is the disk. This is the amount that it's taken up for the users. If I look at program files, they're over here. If I look at program files here, they're over here. The difference between these two, program files x86 are 32-bit programs that typically will run on a 32-bit machine. So your hardware, if it's an older computer and it's a 32-bit machine, it will run on them. Program files highlighted here are 64-bit programs. It will not run on an old Windows 7 machine. You need a newer computer, right? So program files gives me this area. If I wanted to look at Windows, you can see it down here. So the Windows operating system takes up a lot of space, but it's nowhere near some of the other files. Right? If I looked at recovery, there's a small area of my disk for recovery. Right? Here are some other things. For example, here's my printer files. You can see how small that is. Right? Now I can come up here at any of these things, for example, program files. Here's the programs that are sitting here. And if I look at Microsoft Office, here's Office. You see it? Everybody?
Yep.
Okay. So this gives me a pictorial representation of what's on the disk based on this information. I can also come over here on the right and I say, do I have some system files? So I can look at the type of file I have and it shows me here are system files. Okay, I can look at text files. Here's all the text files. Okay, they're not physically sitting here, but it's showing me a representation of the number of text files that is found, right? So I can look at a dump file. Right? Here's some dump files sitting here. And as I scroll through here, it shows me all the different kinds of files. And I can get a visual representation of these kinds of files. Right? Most of these I would find useless to me. But if you ever need this type of information, this is a program that will give it to you. And as I say, you can go through here. Here's Microsoft Office, and it shows me, here's the latest one I'm running, Office 16. And here's some stuff about it. Any general questions? Because I probably can't answer too specific stuff. Questions? Everybody's stunned. Nobody has a question.
It's just too different a way to show the information.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of ways to show information. This one, as I say, I like the pictorial because it gives me information. I'm going to show you another one real quick. This is called Tree Size Free. On this particular program, you have to come over here and say, what do you want to look at? So if I come over here and select a directory, I can look at the install directory, C drive, or I can look at my data directory, D drive. I could look at the DVD, but if I say the C drive, right, and it says Tree Size wants me to restart because it needs administrator authorization. So I'm going to say, okay, I'll give you administrator authorization. It's going to restart. Right? And you can see that it's starting to go through and fill in the different information that's available here. Now I'll expand this a little bit. So it's doing the same thing that Windows Stats did. It's taking a look at what's on the computer, and it's actually running much faster. So it shows me the C drive. Here's the recycle bin. It's got, if I highlight it, right, it's showing me that I have 59 files sitting in my recycle bin. Right? And this thing keeps on coming up and popping off. There it is. Right? You can see it's giving me the name, the recycle bin, the size, the number of files, the number of folders, the last time I put something in it, and different information about it. Right? So this is just another utility program that will give you information on what is physically in the way on your system and what's in it. Right? But this is basically looking at the disk drives Whereas when we looked at Bellark Advisor, it was looking at all of the hardware, including the drives. This stuff, tree size and WinDisk. There's another program called Disk Analyzer Pro, which I'm not going to run, which will give you information about your system. So if you're more technically oriented, you're curious, you can go through these programs and look at it. Okay. So after I had looked at all this stuff, I would then go back to CCleaner. We'll open it up again. CCleaner then allows me to clean the disks. So here's CCleaner again. I showed you the custom clean. Right? This will show you with the little check marks what you want clean. For example, on Microsoft Edge, if I didn't want cookies clean, I would unclick it. I would go through first with an analyze, and it will tell me basically what the garbage is sitting on the computer. So we'll let it run for a couple of minutes. I will give you a warning here. On the lower right-hand side, it says run cleaner, okay? When run cleaner executes, it deletes files and folders. They are gone. So you want to be very cautious when you run this. What I typically recommend is there's a Windows utility program that sets up something called a restore point. And 2 weeks from now, I'll talk more about restore points. But I suggest you run a restore point first, right? So over here now, it says the analysis complete. Right? Microsoft Edge has some stuff on here that can be deleted. It's their cache file, right? Edge has some stuff. Internet Explorer has some stuff. The system has stuff. For example, it has here 9 gigabytes of temporary files. It has memory bytes. All of this stuff is stealing storage here. Firefox has a giant file. Right? So if I want to get rid of all of this stuff, I would come over here and run cleaner. If I looked at this and said, gee, you know, for some reason I want to keep the Edge internet cache, I can then click this and stop it from being deleted when I do the run. All right? That's all I'm going to talk about there for a minute. The next option,
what you might want to talk about also is the one where empty recycle bin, because it will automatically do that. So you might want to uncheck that one, which is what I do.
Yeah, there's a lot of things here you might want to uncheck. Over here is a registry, and it would scan the registry for any issues. It has a feature called Tools, which will check these items over here. Like it will check your startup files. Here's all the startup files that come. You can see there's a whole boatload of files when you start up. There's a disk analyzer. There's a duplicate folder file, okay? I have literally hundreds and hundreds of duplicate files, and this is one way to find them. Here's the system restore, which I have 3 checkpoints. There's some options down here. One of them is they want you to upgrade to their Pro version. As I mentioned, I will probably do that down the line. And over here is a upgrade arrow that allow you to do it. Right? The reason I'm kind of rushing, we've kind of gone through an hour already. I just want to mention a couple of other things. So I strongly recommend running the free version of the cleaner. All right.
Dennis, I got a question on this.
Yeah.
Do you run the registry very often?
Not very often. I think in the last couple of years, I've run it twice.
Okay.
Well, let me just
Because I
say
know you
that,
gotta be careful. Yeah.
registry is one of the real key components on Windows. If something gets clobbered in the Windows registry, your entire system may not run. Right? So there's a way to back up the registry, or you can do a complete disk image backup. And if you start messing with your system, I strongly suggest you do a restore point. If you're concerned, I'd do a registry backup. And if you're really concerned, I'd do a disk image. So that if you screw up badly on something, you can come back and restore whatever you've messed up with.
I think that would be a really good topic to do, Dennis.
Yep. Okay. We're running on time, so I'm not going to do a lot of stuff. But for example, there's something in here called Nova Bench, which will test on how fast your system runs. For example, if you play games and you're finding that they're running slow, Nova Bench will give you a frame rate information. Down here, there's other kinds of programs that you can run. There's a sound switch will give information. Right? This will show you, for example, if you're running more than one sound card, and if you're having sound issues, it might tell you what's physically on your system. So I thought this thing was running. Yeah, I'm going to open it. Well, maybe it's opening. On my particular system, I always have sound issues. And that's a personal problem I have because I'm not running the basic sound settings using the system microphone and speaker. I'm using another device which works with my hearing aids. I don't know why it didn't.
That's like on this one, got an HDMI cable connected to the laptop, but the sound does not come to the large TV for some reason, and I don't know why. If I go to YouTube and stuff, it plays fine, but if not with Zoom, it does not.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, I'm going to close this for a second. Basically, what I've showed you are some of the utilities that I personally have found useful. When we started this, I mentioned that there are literally hundreds and hundreds of different utility programs. You can go to the Windows Store and look at them. You can go to Google and search, put in a problem, and it'll probably show you a bunch of utilities. The utility programs are kind of those things. If you need them, there's tons of them available. If you don't need them, you never have to download a single one. Right? We're running a little after 11. Anybody have any general questions?
Do you want to continue with some of these last ones that you didn't show? Do you want to continue that with next time?
Yeah, there's not too many. There's the Nova. Let me go back.
Yeah, there's Nova Bench.
Yeah, these are very specialized. For example.
But I mean, you could do that next time if you want.
Yeah, I could, or I could do it today if you wanted. I don't know if anybody wants to stick around. I know you want to hold the meeting.
Well, no, not really a meeting, but that's,
Yeah.
you know, I want to ask some guys some questions.
So what I'm going to do personally is I'm going to go off and do some other stuff. I'm going to stop the recording.